If I was white, I would be jealous too. I would want to go to the cookout too. I would want to play it too. Okay, I would be jealous of other people's culture because I have none. There's a lot of people in the comments of this video that I just posted, white people, a lot of white people in the comments who are like, this is a missing piece. Like, I needed to hear this. And like talking about their experience with lack of culture and how a lot of white American culture is centered around the church, around Christianity, because the pilgrims like were literally ostracized Christians who came to this land and stole it. And so Christianity is intertwined in whiteness and white American culture. And they are talking about, sorry, there's a white woman walking by my car. I had to lock the doors. But anyway, they are talking about how in some people's religion, it's literally against their religion to dance. They're not allowed to dance. You realize that's systemic oppression. Like that's systemic. There's a reason, like in the Christian religion and in authentic Christianity or just religion and spirituality, there's nothing at all that should say you're not allowed to dance. You won't go to heaven if you dance. Like, I would be jealous too if I was so restricted and removed from my own culture like many black and brown people have been. Like, it's almost ironic, but also very like non-othering to see that white people are feeling this too. Like, this is exactly what I was talking about. Like, the way that we feel, obviously it's very different because we were literally stripped. Like, we were the ones being oppressed and put down by the oppressor. Like, no one necessarily stripped white people away and took them and said, you have to be here. Like, y'all brought yourselves here and did this to yourselves. And yeah, you're a willing participant in this if you're not actively trying to unlearn and connect to your own roots and like not oppress other people. But many white people who aren't even aware of this, like who aren't yet with us in this conversation, are suffering from lack of culture and lack of connectedness and lack of community in many of the same ways that we are. Not to say it's the same, not to compare struggles, but I just want to make it known that like this is something that affects all of us. Like, if white people who haven't yet had this conversation, who are, because I'm not talking to the people who are extremists, because you can't change extreme, but the people who are still seeking for different but just don't know where to look, this culture, community, like, try to identify your roots and respect other people's roots and come to different communities and cultures with respect and learn something from them.
Trump said civil rights led to white people being treated very, very badly. That is something he actually said. And let's be very clear, because we told you that he was raised in racism. We told you that he was steeped in white supremacy and all its grievances. We told you that he was openly flirting with eugenics logic. We told you he was recycling Yahtzee adjacent talking points about hierarchy, about purity, about bloodlines, about white decline. And y'all sat up there and said, it's not about race. That was a lie. A convenient one at times, but usually a cowardly one, because it's always been about race. The United States has its foundation in racism. It's never existed without it. And class rides on the back of racism, which is the foundation of the United States of America. Always has been. America didn't just randomly trip into racism, it engineered it. White Europeans arrived here as nobodies, peasants, criminals, the unwanted. They looked around and they saw indigenous nations and African people with knowledge, with systems, with resilience, with power, and they panicked. So they invented race, a hierarchy, a fake crown to cover their real insecurities. Race was their cheat code. It was their alibi. Race is what allowed theft to become destiny and violence to become order. So when people, even white liberals, say it's not about race, it's about class, what they're really saying is, I don't want to confront my proximity to the system. Because when you admit that, yes, it's about race and it always has been, then you have to admit who benefited and who paid for it. This administration is not just racist. They are racist out loud. They are racist on purpose. They are racist with policy with language and with nostalgia. Make America great again. Y'all didn't hear it then? Cause yeah, we clocked it. And the people who clocked it from day one, we were right. Not dramatic, not divisive, not exaggerating, not fear-mongering. We were right. We were just being honest. We were early to clock the obvious racism, and we were just unwilling to be gaslit by a country that has never existed without race at its core. Because the President of the United States today said that civil rights led to white people being treated very, very badly. Argue with that.
I have a question, and my question is this. Why do online conversation about race feel more intense than ever? And why does it seem like everyone is talking past each other when it comes to race? Across social media and online spaces, debates about race, inequality, and economic struggles are trending again. So watch this video, drop your thoughts concerning this video in the comment section, like, share, follow, and subscribe. You will see me soon. You're welcome.
NYC Black, I'm gonna pray for you, brother, but it's people like you, it's racist motherfuckers like you that's kept a cloud over this country for so long, you know what I'm saying, because y'all are so ignorant and so not knowledgeable. Knowledgeable and smart people are so far past that fucking division tactic. That's a made-up ass division tactic. We're past that shit. You can't divide us no more. We're united together. United we stand. United we're strong, baby. I'm gonna pray for you, NYC Black, because you need prayer. You're the problem in this fucking country. Peace.
Why, oh why do poor white people vote against themselves time and time again? They vote for Trump and the other MAGA politicians only to have every promise broken, prices go up, social supports evaporate. Here's why. First, remember what I talked about recently, the psychological wage of whiteness. That term was coined by W.E. Du Bois to describe poor white folks being paid with social status rather than decent living conditions. They're convinced by the elites that they're better than black folks, better than immigrants, Latinos, LGBTQ folks. They're convinced that being white puts them in the same league as the elites. Of course, the elites know otherwise, but the poor whites buy it because they're grasping at straws. Second, they are convinced that the people they're supposedly better than are the big threat in their lives. Not the rich, not the corporations or the politicians, but immigrants, black folks, welfare queens, LGBTQ, criminals, you know, the usual scapegoats. Third, the elites promise protection to poor white folks. A politician comes along and says, I'll keep those people in their place, or I'll kick them out, or I'll lock them up. Or, more politely, I'll defend your values. They don't say, I'll make your life better. Well, they say it, they just don't mean it. They'll say, I'll make sure they don't get ahead of you. Fourth, they vote for the punishment, not the policy. When a law gets passed that slashes public housing or school funding or food aid, they think, good, that'll stop those lazy freeloaders. And they do some mental gymnastics that make them believe it's worth losing those things for their own families in order to see those problematic black people and immigrants and so forth being punished. It gets to a point where just seeing those guys being punished is reward enough, which is pretty sick, but that's how behavior works. Their housing, schools, and groceries are on the chopping block too, but they blame that on Biden. Always a scapegoat. They get hit by the same policies they were told would punish the others, and they blame the wrong people. The system fails them, but they've been trained to blame the scapegoats, not the cause, which is the rich people, the people they voted for. So they think the problem is still those people, not the fact that they were personally manipulated by the people they voted for. They're basically saying, I'll take the hit as long as you don't help them, or worse, as long as you hurt them. That is the psychological wage Du Bois was talking about, the trade-off between material security for racial status. And that's a crying shame, folks. One share, like, save, and comment shows that you care about white people taking responsibility for racism in America. This work is important to me, and I want to keep doing it. If you want to support me, consider a donation of any size to coffee.com/Kelly Snyder. And yeah, spelling is important. Get curious.
Every economic problem that we're facing in this country right now, student loan debt being just out of control, the government shutdown, SNAP benefits being cut, health insurance premiums about to go through the roof, your rent going up, your pay stagnating, groceries just being astronomical, is because reparations were never paid after the Civil War. Let me explain. After the Civil War, the Union, the North won and the South was defeated, but the South was never punished. The Confederacy lived on in the ideology of the people, of the white people of the South. Reparations were never paid to Black Americans. They were never really, truly given the opportunity to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, to rise up and become equal members of this country, equal citizens. They've been fighting for their equality since then. They've never actually truly achieved it. So when white people hear a promise from Donald Trump et al. That we're gonna run the country like a business, to them that sounds appealing. They're like, oh yeah, because you know what? I'm a business owner. I own this country because I'm white. When Black and brown people hear, well, we're going to run the country, run the government like a business, they understand what that means because they've been dealing with it for centuries. White people think that they are on the side of the owners, the masters, but they're not. Most white people have more in common with the Black and brown people that they look down upon. They are closer to them in the economic tax bracket than they are to the white billionaires whose asses they kiss. But listen to them glazing billionaires, especially on this app. I make $50,000 a year, but I have more in common with Jeff Bezos than I do with George Floyd. Bullshit! The only reason the lie of let's run this country like a business appealed to you is because you thought you would benefit. And now here you are. Now here you are understanding that when they say we're going to run this country like a business, that means they're going to profit off of your ass. That means that if you take $100,000 loan out to go to college, you will be in debt to the federal government until the day you fucking die. You borrowed 100 grand, prepare to repay 300 grand because they're running the government like a business now. And guess what? You're a customer, not an owner. The government exists to serve us, not to profit off of us. And we will continue to have these problems until y'all get your fucking minds right.
A Black person I know commented that she is sick and tired of white people suddenly panicking about the political climate. She didn't feel like the fear was fake. It's just that it's not new, not to her, not to Black people, not even the fascism part. She said Black communities have lived with this level of threat, control, and rollback their entire lives. So when white progressives sound alarmed now, it doesn't feel urgent to her. It lands as amnesia. She said something else that matters. Many Black people are not rushing to join these white panic-driven marches and movements, not because they don't care, but because history has taught them that white people show up in a big way when they're afraid, and then they disappear when the ongoing cost gets too high. That's hard for us to hear, and it's super important. If you're white and this political climate is scaring you, think about it this way. Fear does not have to turn into flailing or performative outrage. It can turn into discipline. It's not the time to ask Black people to calm you down, to teach you, or to support you as you feel your fear. That is not allyship. That's extraction. What helps is building up our own stamina instead of urgency. Learn the policies, learn the history, support the people already doing the work, and don't expect praise. Stick with it when it gets boring. Stay with it when it's slow. Keep doing the work when nobody's paying attention. Use your access, talk to other white people, interrupt the lies, and vote every time. Donate consistently. Protect organizers when backlash comes. And this isn't about proving that you're a good person. It's about turning the urgency into reliability. You can do this. I'm not an expert. I'm just an avid learner, and I hope you'll join me. Get curious.
I'm back again. You will see videos, posts, reactions going back and forth with people expressing frustration, anger, and sometimes confusion. But what's actually driving these reactions and tensions online? There are few big factors behind this, and this is what I'm going to talk about. One is that economic pressure and cost of living. Two is different life experience. Three is misinformation spread quickly online. So when these collide, conversation can turn into conflict. Platforms reward engagement and conflict gets attention. I will repeat myself. Platforms reward engagement and conflict gets attention. Platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, and so on reward engagement. And when you talk about conflict, when you talk about race, when you talk about identity, when you talk about Black people and the differences between racial communities, it gets attention more faster than ever. So the most extreme intake often rises to the top, making it seems like tensions are higher than they actually are. So when it comes to the bigger picture, many of the arguments from the divided and deeper issues between communities are inequality, historical context, and lack of understanding between communities. So the real challenge isn't who is wrong or who is right, is whether this conversation can move from blame to understanding. So what do you think? Are these online debates helping people understand each other, or is it making matters worse? So drop your thoughts in the comment section. Like, share, follow, and subscribe for all updates like this to come up your screen. You're welcome.